State College of Florida, Manatee-Sarasota, SCF, strives to provide a community where safety, equality, respect, and healthy relationships are valued. SCF fosters a campus environment that is free from intimidation and one in which students may be educated to their fullest potential. Therefore, SCF will not tolerate sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, or any form of sexual harassment from students, faculty, staff, volunteers, visitors, or any persons, whether online or at any college campus or sponsored event.
The purpose of this video is to provide information about Title IX for students, faculty, and staff. Title IX is a federal law that forbids discrimination on the basis of sex in all student services and academic programs that receive federal funds. Early on, Title IX focused on addressing gaps in women's sports to ensure that participation, scholarships, and other benefits for athletes were equitable. Title IX also ensures equity in access to higher education, standardized testing, learning environment, and education for pregnant and parenting students. Failure to follow Title IX can result in colleges losing their federal funding and being subject to lawsuits.
Title IX works with the Violence Against Women's Act, VAWA, to ensure that those who experience sexual harassment, including dating violence, domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking, receive information in writing and have access to prompt, fair, and impartial proceedings. Title IX also works with the Clery Act, a law that requires colleges and universities to disclose information about crime on and around campus, to outline the procedures that are in place to improve campus safety and support victims of violence. Title IX includes all sex-based discrimination. This can include sexual harassment, dating violence, domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking. To better understand these issues, let's take a look at the Title IX definitions. Sexual harassment, 34 CFR 106. Sexual harassment is defined as unwelcome conduct on the basis of sex that a reasonable person would find to be so severe, pervasive, and objectively offensive that it effectively denies a person equal access to the college's education program or activity. Sexual harassment includes quid pro quo harassment. Quid pro quo is Latin for this for that. This type of sexual harassment occurs when an educational institution employee conditions the provision of an aid, benefit, or service, such as a grade, a promotion, or other academic or employment opportunity, on a person, including a student's participation in unwelcome sexual conduct. Sexual harassment can create a hostile environment and interfere with a student's ability to participate in or benefit from an educational program. Sexual harassment also includes dating violence, domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking.
Dating violence, 34 USC 12291A10. Dating violence means violence committed by a person, A, who is or has been in a social relationship of a romantic or intimate nature with the victim, and B, where the existence of such a relationship shall be determined based on a consideration of the following factors. 1. The length of the relationship. 2. The type of relationship. 3. The frequency of interaction between the people involved in the relationship. Dating violence includes, but is not limited to, sexual or physical abuse or threats of such abuse. Dating violence does not include acts covered under the definition of domestic violence.
Domestic violence, dating violence, or intimate partner violence. 34 USC 12291A8. The term domestic violence includes felony or misdemeanor crimes of violence committed by a current or former spouse or intimate partner of the victim, by a person with whom the victim shares a child in common, by a person who is cohabitating with or has cohabitated with the victim as a spouse or intimate partner, by a person similarly situated to a spouse of the victim under the domestic or family violence laws of the jurisdiction receiving grant monies, or by any other person against an adult or youth victim who is protected from that person's acts under the domestic or family violence laws of the jurisdiction.
Stalking, 34 USC 12291A30. The term stalking means engaging in a course of conduct directed at a specific person that would cause a reasonable person to A. fear for his or her safety or the safety of others, or B. suffer substantial emotional distress. Stalking may involve individuals who are known to one another, who have a current or previous relationship, or who are strangers. Stalking also includes cyberstalking, in which electronic media is used to pursue, harass, or to make unwelcome contact with another person. Sexual assault, sexual violence, 20 U.S.C. 1092 F6 AV. The term sexual assault means any non-consensual sexual act prescribed by federal, tribal, or state law, including when the victim lacks capacity to consent. Consent means knowing, voluntary, and clear permission by word or action to engage in sexual activity. Consent cannot be coerced. Consent is active, not passive. Silence cannot be interpreted as consent. Failure by the alleged victim to fight the offender does not indicate consent. You cannot consent if you are incapacitated by alcohol or drugs.
There are several ways for you to make a Title IX report. If you are over 18, you have the right to speak to someone confidentially before or instead of making a report. You can access confidential community resources, including Safe Place and Rape Crisis Center, SPARC, in Sarasota, at 941-965-1976. SPARC assists victims of sexual assault and domestic dating violence. Centerstone in Bradenton, 941-708-6059, supports victims of sexual assault. Hope Family Services in Bradenton, 941-747-8499, works with victims of domestic and dating violence. SCF Campus Ministries, 941-752-5607, is also a confidential resource. If you contact a confidential community resource, you may meet with an advocate, counselor, or pastor, but no further investigation will occur. If you want an investigation, you must make a Title IX report. Remember that all SCF faculty, including adjunct instructors and staff, are considered mandated reporters under Title IX and must report incidents of sexual harassment.
You have options when making a Title IX report at SCF. You can contact the Title IX coordinator. You can contact SCF Public Safety at 941-752-5550, or visit them in person in Building 14 on the Bradenton campus, Building 500 on the Venice campus, or Building 2 on the Lakewood Ranch campus. You can report online at www.scf.edu/SafeSCF, and SCF will investigate. If you make an anonymous report, it will be investigated, but the investigation may be hampered by lack of details and/or information.
You might be wondering what happens when a report is made. SCF must follow our outlined procedure, Sexual Misconduct, Sexual Harassment 2.44.02. It is the responsibility of the Title IX coordinator to make sure the procedure is followed. The college must take steps to protect those involved, including supportive measures taken prior to the outcome of the investigation. SCF must provide equal opportunity for both parties to present witnesses and other evidence. The college uses the preponderance of the evidence standard in any Title IX hearings and must also provide an appeals process. SCF must notify both parties of the outcome of the complaint and appeal rights.
Title IX prohibits retaliation against individuals who, in good faith, assert their rights under Title IX or other applicable federal and state laws prohibiting illegal discrimination.
Students often ask if there are things they can do to stay safe. While you can never completely protect yourself from sexual violence, there are some things you can do to reduce your risk. If you are alone, make sure to always be aware of your surroundings and avoid isolated areas. It's important to walk with a purpose, even if you're lost. If a situation feels unsafe, it probably is, so always trust your instincts. If someone is pressuring you to engage in sexual activity, it's important to remember that being in the situation is not your fault. If you need to get out of an uncomfortable or scary situation, here are some things you can try. 1. Have a code word with your friends to signal when you need help. 2. Tell a lie to the person who is pressuring you to get out of the situation. 3. Think of an escape route by looking for doors and windows if you need to get away quickly. And 4. If you've been drinking, you can say that you would rather wait until you're sober.
Bystander intervention. It is also important to know what you can do to help someone else as an active bystander. If you see someone who is in trouble, the first thing to do is evaluate the risk of stepping in. If you determine it is unsafe, you should call 911 immediately. However, if you determine that you can safely intervene, you can start by asking the potential victim if they would like some help. You can suggest that the potential perpetrator leave the other person alone. You can stay on the scene, as long as it is safe, as a witness, which will make the potential perpetrator less likely to do anything. Thank you so much for taking time to learn more about Title IX at SCF.